Welcome to the Mediocre to Magnificent podcast. I'm your co-host, Braxton Matson, and your host, Lee A. Williams, and I just want to say thank you for tuning in because you are what makes this pure magnificence. You are the ripple effect of magnificence, and we are going to bring you a message that will give you insight, inspire you, motivate you, and challenge you to not only grow in your magnificence, but let you know that you are magnificent in everything you do. So stay tuned, you don't want to miss it. Lee, man,
Yes, sir.
it's good to see you.
It's good seeing you, man.
Co-host here, Braxton. Your host, Lee, over there across from me.
We're ready to go, man.
We got a story, man.
Yes, we do. Man.
We've got Lee has a story.
Well, sometimes stuff happens.
Stuff happens, man.
I end up having a story. At least I'm willing to share, you know?
See,
Some people be like, man.
that's a nugget, though,
Why-
man.
why
You
are
got to
you-
be willing to share this.
Right.
There's a message. There
there's
is a message to this.
There's a message. I promise you there is. And this, you don't even know. I just gave you the highlights.
Yeah, you just gave me the highlights.
I just gave you how we're going to get into it.
I don't
didn't
even know what this story is about, but after
Right.
what you show, I'm like, this is going to be very, very interesting.
So let's just get into it, man.
Let's dive into
They're
this.
already like, man, come on, man. Quit stalling. Like, nah. But yeah, so I'm getting ready to leave the other day, my house, and so I, walk out, and it's summertime, so it's like, okay, I just open the garage. So I have the key thing, like the garage opener in my car, so I could have got in my car.
Right.
So the only reason I'm telling you that detail is it's specific, so you understand. Like,
Yeah.
today, I just was like, okay, let me hit the button on the wall and raise it up.
Okay, so you
before
walk
I
in,
get
you go
into
in,
the
So you going into the garage, and everybody's got the button they hit.
Yeah, you can
I do
hit.
it all the time.
yeah,
I'm not. I'm just doors open. I start walking, kind of thing.
right.
Okay. Yeah.
So, but sometimes, but
It takes time though.
there's sometimes, and I'll say maybe if I'm leaving the way I was, like not like, oh, let me get this, let me do this, let me load up kayaks, let me whatever.
Yeah.
If it was my normal, I would get in the car, crank it, press the button, back out.
Oh.
So that's why I'm telling you like
okay,
that.
okay.
But this day,
You hit the button on the wall.
hit the button on the wall upon walking out into the garage. So I just want to set the stage so people get it.
Yeah, yeah. That's not your normal routine.
Right. So why I do that day? Well, let me tell you. Let me tell you why. So I hit the button, garage doors raising, and all of a sudden there's a goat.
Hold up. There's a
There's a goat
there's a goat.
standing there in my driveway, man.
I didn't even know you had goats around here, man.
Right. So I don't want to act like, okay, man, what's the deal? But there's a goat in my driveway.
You gotta send me the picture. We gotta put that on.
So I look at the goat, and you would think, okay, so I press the garage door. That's loud, like not
Yeah,
loud, but
well,
that's not like
It's
if
loud
it's
enough where it would
closed-
scare an animal off.
right.
Yeah. When they see something out of the norm do that, they're like, "Oh,
Right.
let's go."
So I look at the goat, and the goat looks at me like I'm out of
What
place.
do you do it?
Yeah, like what? Like what are you? What? Like I'm like, okay, man.
It's like, who are you? Like, what are you doing here?
Right. And I'm like, I said, oh, this is interesting.
I would have said the same thing.
I said, okay. I said, okay, Lord. Okay. I'm ready. I'll say it. I'll do it. Like, that's the take on it.
Yeah.
So now we'll get into why we're talking about this. And I said, okay, Lord, I'll do it. And I'm like, okay, but how do I do it?
Yeah.
And how doesn't really matter.
It doesn't. It doesn't.
Why
Is the real reason.
This is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So I immediately connected it with, like, you know, and sports is a very big thing.
Yeah.
Greatest of all time.
Greatest of all time.
The GOAT.
The GOAT.
Oh, I'm the GOAT. Oh, I'm the debate. He's the greatest. He's the greatest. Who's the greatest?
Right.
Acronym. GOAT. Greatest of all time. You could name the podcast Greatest of All Time.
Greatest of all time.
That's what I want it to be named. So, you know, have you heard of it in sports about, like,
Oh, yeah.
who's the greatest of all time?
Like, you had the whole thing with Michael Jordan, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Wayne
And they
Gretzky,
always want to
like all
they want
kinds
to
of
show
people.
you rings on their hand,
And
they want to show you, and they say they're the GOAT.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say, like, if they're saying it themselves or if people are saying it for them.
Mm-hmm.
So then it ends up being an issue.
Yeah.
But the greatest of all time was not a GOAT. It's a lamb.
I love it. I like how you said that.
You
It's
like
the
that?
lamb, man.
So when I say that, what do you say? What do you get from it? Where am I going?
I want to say it's like we're not focusing on the right thing. You're focusing on a goat when you need to be focusing on the lamb.
Right.
Yeah.
So upon me looking up, I mean, of course, you know I'm going to look up, like, well, why that's all I go? And it's like the GOAT, man. Like, if you say, like, sheep, the sheep will follow, and they're looking for their shepherd. And
Yeah.
the GOAT is the one, like, if you drive by the fence,
He's standing on a freaking rock or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's standing on the rock, or
Yeah,
it's
at the top.
It's
They
like
wanna be at the top.
it wants to be reaching over the fence, and they want to jump the fence. And then in my story, they want to stand at your garage and look at you like you're at a place. It's like, okay, you're not supposed to be here.
Right.
I'm not at a place. But in the thought process of saying the greatest of all time is a lamb, is it a stretch to say that when we do the greatest of all time, it's a blasphemy to take away from what Jesus did for us?
Yeah.
Because does it break down to be like, oh, the greatest? Is like, that's a distraction.
Yeah.
It's not a GOAT. And if you know GOAT traits and GOAT characteristics, there is some that are good. Well, when I looked it up and read, you need to look it up for yourself.
Yeah, I'm going to info sponsor that.
Like, the GOAT has leadership capabilities, but it comes to the point where it gets into ego, and ego's edge God out. So it's like, look at me. How you said, oh, standing on the rock. Well,
Yeah.
you don't, like, if we keep it biblical, you don't want to stand on the rock. Like, to say you're above it.
Right.
You need to stand on the rock to.
You want to build a foundation.
You're
on it,
relying on the rock,
Yeah.
not standing on it saying, "Look at me."
I'm on the rock. Look at me. I'm on the. Yeah. I totally
So then,
get
if
that.
you tie it into saying like greatest of all time, and the way that they've said it, and they use it as a go, and it could just be like, "Oh, it works," to say the acronym is that, and it's like, I don't think so. Especially when you look at it scripturally.
Yeah.
When you look at it scripturally and what Jesus did, and then even if you want to say, okay, the way my mind processes certain things and say, okay, what if we talk about scapegoat? What if we add that into the mix? When I do that, when you smile, what is that?
Yeah, that's scapegoat.
Jesus on the cross.
Yeah.
Taking our sin. Scapegoat.
Yeah.
So even if you say, oh, greatest of all time, and then you want to be like, oh, no, man, it's a lamb.
Mm-hmm.
At best, scapegoat.
Like even Isaiah, like we were. I mean, I'll go back to the VBS. There was a point where the Ethiopian man, that story, and it goes back to Isaiah, man, and talks specifically what was going to happen.
Wow.
Blameless lamb.
Blameless lamb, man.
I was like, man, I mean, that's powerful, you know?
But I don't want to terrorize people to the point of like saying, okay, if Jesus is the greatest of all time, where are you? Where do you stand with that? I mean, that's the question today. Like me seeing it go to my driveway, have a sense like, okay, because I thought about it like, because I always thought, oh, the GOAT, he's the GOAT, and it's like, and it means greatest of all time, and it's like, even if you want to say, okay, some people have died and been brought back to life, but resurrected? Who's done that?
Yeah. Right. Resurrected. Like even when you say greatest of all time, like greatest of all, like time ain't even a part of it. You know what I mean?
Not even a part of it, man.
That's not even a part of it.
Like you'll end up being like your record will be broken if we're going back to the sports.
Right.
Somebody will get more rings.
Yeah.
Some people have more championships.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, especially if some people follow it, and not to terrorize, some people might be like, man, Lee, I don't want to hear this, man. You ruining it for me. You know? But if to say like, okay, well, you've even heard, because you just brought it up. It's like, of all time.
Yeah.
Like, even if we want to just do, I'm not even going to name, you named just a couple of them, that's fine. But in this reference, I'm not going to name them. To say like, because a guy asked me one time, he said, well, who do you say is the best basketball player? I said, well, like, I'm more intelligent than that.
Yeah. What decade?
No, like, I mean, are you going by championships?
Yeah, championship rings.
Are you going by culture created? Are you going by, like, consecutive streaks? Are you going by points? Are you going, like...
Yeah.
What are you asking me?
Right.
But when you say of all time, what does that mean?
What does that mean? Mm-hmm.
Of all time? I mean, if you say that 1980s basketball and 2000s basketball, just as an example, it's not the same.
It's different.
Of course, people from that be like, man, that's the same way if you want to do like the millennials and Gen this and Gen, people be like, baby, like, oh, they're weak, they're soft, but you're gonna say somebody coming from this is the greatest of all time. Like, huh?
Yeah. But
you're not talking to the generation that was like, man, you couldn't last 5 minutes in the league with me. You know what I'm saying? Isn't it? Doesn't it be like that?
Right.
But then we'll be so fast to say, greatest of all time.
You know, I think it's a lot of it. It's really a debate. Just this constant debate, the greatest of all time, and it's a distraction.
I think it is.
It's a distraction.
So I was willing. I said, God, that's why I jokingly was like, okay, God, and I'm talking about it now, is to say, you want me to say Jesus Christ is the greatest of all time.
Yeah.
And I said it on there.
Yeah.
I did it. And I don't mind, but I looked up this real quick. I think it's John 1. It says 129. The next day John seeth Jesus coming unto him and saith, behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sin of the world.
Sin of the world.
The greatest of all time is not a goat. It's a lamb. And even if you wanted to say goat, he was a scapegoat for our sin.
Exactly.
So the sooner you realize that, the sooner you get right, the better off you'll be. Because eternity's too long to be wrong. Yeah. And eternity is all time. This is just a small speck in the grand scheme of time.
It really is, man.
Don't be distracted.
It really is, man.
So that's why I was like, okay, we'll do the goat.
I like that, man. I like how you put that in there.
And I'll glorify who truly is.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for me, man. I mean, it's been said. It's enough. He's enough.
He's enough. He is enough.
So that's good, man.
I love that.
You know, I want to shout out Ghana, man.
Ghana?
Yeah, man. They're listening in Ghana.
Wow.
I mean, I know every time I say a country, people be like, man.
You know, it's amazing.
Because we got some faithfuls. But
yeah.
I just, in this episode, I'm acknowledging Ghana because they're on the map and they've been jamming down there, listening. And so I just wanted to acknowledge, appreciate you. Tell somebody about it. We're doing our thing. Y'all are doing y'all's thing. And we just appreciate you, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Greatest of all time. Greatest of all, period. I don't even want to put time in the thing of it. To be honest with you.
You see?
It's so crazy.
It's a trick, man.
I mean, it's like, if you look at the timeline, if you just even info sponge it, the timeline of God's creation and the amount of time that you're here on earth compared to eternity.
Can't compete with it, man.
It's like microscopic.
Don't chase idols, man.
Yeah.
Chase God. That's it.
Chase God.
Till next time.
This is your co-host here, Braxton Matson, and Lee and I just want to say thank you so much for tuning into this episode. We hope you've enjoyed it just as much as we did making it, but we couldn't do it without you. So please hit that like button, leave us a rating, leave us a review. Let us know what topic or subject that you would like us to talk about in your journey from mediocre to magnificent. But most of all, share it. Be the ripple effect of magnificence and know that you are magnificent in everything you do. Till next time.